Todd, the reports of our deaths have been greatly exaggerated.
I was wondering how you're gonna open this.
It was weird. It was a weird thing because we knew that we have not recorded something in like months together, but we knew that we were going to reunite and record some stuff for when Mandalorian season 2 came out. So we knew we were
hmm
going to have to jump back into the saddle, but we weren't 100% on how we were going to do it. So we figured that before we play the intro, before we get into the episode proper, might be appropriate to do some like updates, update folks on what's been going on in our lives. So yeah, what's been going on these past few months since folks last heard from you?
Working like a shit ton. That's essentially all I do now. I'm trying to remember like what the fuck was going on.
That's so it feels like it was 20 years ago.
That's kind of my thing. I don't even know where I was at job wise. I mean, granted, I'm at the same place, but I don't know if I was like doing anything like different. But I mean, biggest update is I am planning on going into management at my job, so that's
There
something.
you go.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, it's been a long time. It's been what? The last upload was July 17th. So
Well,
it's been like 4 months. Feels like 20 years,
yeah.
but it's been 4 months. So, yeah, it's there's a lot that's been going on in my life actually. I am now in a house. I no longer live in a little apartment. My wife and I got a house. So, that's cool. I'm actually recording from my office. Now, granted, my audio may sound a little echoey because we just moved in last weekend. There's literally nothing in my office yet. It's just my recording setup. So I haven't had a chance to put up soundproofing or, the amiibo wall needs to go up. The Star Wars toys need to go up, but nothing's happened yet. So may sound a little echoey. I apologize for that. But yeah, we had a lot of people like just in the past. So Mandalorian season 2 started October 30th. And dude, I had people coming out of the woodwork. But you guys got to come back. When are we getting shots back? I had folks reaching out to me on Twitter. I had people reaching out to me on Facebook. And it's funny because you and I have talked about this. The Star Wars stuff that we did for Nerd Bourbon was always our most popular content.
Yeah.
Like always. And I don't know if it's just like, you and I have known each other for forever. Obviously, we're cousins and we're friends and stuff. But like, so we've always had good chemistry and stuff like that. But there's something about like our Star Wars content that people seem to really dig.
Just two idiots like enjoying themselves. I don't know.
I don't know, but I mean, we got some really nice comments like over time. Shout out to Carol Cook on YouTube. I always liked her comments because she would listen to our Mandalorian episodes and leave some really nice stuff for us there. So it was nice to know that like that our stuff was resonating with folks.
Mhm.
Um, and I apologize, it's going to be like a long-winded little update section before we get into the thing proper, but I felt like it was important to touch base with folks. And you can totally skip this if you want. I'll throw a little timestamp in the description of the episode. But yeah, we we had this kind of moment where we were like, even though it's not really feasible for us to do a weekly show anymore, we don't know that we could ever really go back to that.
That's completely and utterly different.
Yeah. Yeah, it basically, yeah. I mean, it's just like it's not in our bandwidth anymore. I do actually a weekly Nintendo podcast now that is like fucking massive, and I've been doing like those episodes are so long, it demands so much of my time. We both work full time on top of it. Um, it's a lot. So I don't know that that Nerd Bourbon's gonna come back ever in that weekly capacity, in that weekly news oriented kind of format. That's not really what we're about anymore, I don't think.
Mhm.
Um, but we did sort of sit down and figure that, if people always liked our Star Wars stuff, if this is something that we can sort of come to sporadically, unite together, watch something like The Mandalorian or Clone Wars or a new movie or a new book or whatever, and record a little something together, and people seem to like it when we do that. We should continue to do that. Um, I don't know what form that's going to take. Just to be completely transparent with you guys, we have a couple of little ideas. We have a couple things we're thinking about. We're actually thinking about rebranding the entire thing,
Mm.
like as a focused, sporadic Star Wars podcast. So definitely, if you're listening to this and you're a fan of our stuff, let us know what you would think of that. Would you be down to sort of migrate to a new podcast where it's just Todd and I sporadically covering Star Wars stuff as we want to? Because I think that's something that you and I could do. Like, we can get together every so often and record a podcast together, and people seem to like it when we do that, even if we don't necessarily have the bandwidth to do a weekly show anymore. So if that's something you guys would be interested in, let us know. But with all that preamble out of the way, we are here today reunited, and it feels so good because Mandalorian season 2 has begun, and Todd, we've got to talk about it. So I'm going to go ahead and play the intro and get into this thing. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call shots. So the Mandalorian season 2, you know what was weird about this? Instantly what was weird about this is they don't consider it like season 2 chapter 1. You know how they've been breaking this into chapters?
Yeah, it's just straight up chapter 9.
Chapter 9. Yeah, like just straight up.
We're just continuing it on. Fuck it. Same story.
Yeah, like no breaks or anything like that. I thought that was really interesting. Chapter 9, The Marshal, it's called. And of course we will find out why. Now, this episode was really cool. You just got done watching it for the first time minutes ago. I watched it a couple days ago, but you just got done watching. What's your raw reactions?
Shit was cash. No, I was actually like, it's like Mandalorian, still good. It's like, cool.
Yeah, right. It's like man, like it didn't skip a beat. You know, like it's like it never left.
It felt good to kind of just sit down and like just watch it again. Just I missed it.
Oh, I missed it too. It really is. The Mandalorian is like still just some of the best Star Wars content, I feel like.
A1. A1 Star
Yeah.
Wars.
Yeah, but we're going to go through this as we always do. We're going to go through the plot beats, we're going to comment on it. And the way this episode starts is very reminiscent to me. I don't know if you got this too. It reminds me a lot of the very first scene from season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like where it's basically Mando like having to like deal with somebody. You know, I guess before they even really do that is we get a recap, right, of season 1.
It's a really solid recap.
I agree. I thought it was like a super solid recap. I was like, okay, like this sort of it's nice to have that little bit of a refresher. Not that we ever really forgot the main beats, but it was nice to see it in front of you. So this episode opens with Mando and Yiddle, our sweet boy, the child, baby Yoda, in this kind of like,
Oh, by the way, do you know that I have my family bought a Yiddle animatronic toy thing?
oh, did you get the animatronic one
Yeah,
from Hasbro?
I think so, yeah.
Is it good?
It's adorable.
I did not get the animatronic one. I do have the I have it on order, but I don't think it's coming until later this month. But I do have the plush Yiddle, but I don't have
Pop
the
it in its little
animatronic
head
one
and it just does like very, very adorable shit.
yet.
Lays down, fucking sleeps and shit.
That's adorable. Well,
That's
I
great.
mean, that's essentially what his purpose was in this episode too, right? Can I just shout out the fact that like it's not the Baby Yoda show? You know what I mean? Like
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
they could have easily had him overshadow it.
Oh, of course. You just got to get a little bit of like the occasional baby, little Yiddle shot. It's adorable. Everybody goes, oh, and you move on. That's fine.
Yeah, and it's like I was so happy that they didn't just like shoehorn like some over the top Baby Yoda shit to appease to the fans. But anyway, the scene opens with Mando and Yiddle in this kind of dingy. It's like Nar Shaddaa. That was my first thought when I saw it. Do they name where it is?
I don't. If they did, I honestly don't remember. I don't.
I
I
don't
don't
think they
think that's the.
did.
I don't think it even matters really.
Well, it doesn't, but I
It
don't think
might
they
be a
name where
cool
it
like
is.
throwaway if they did name it, But
Yeah, it's basically irrelevant. It's like this graffiti written, like dingy, dark, seedy underbelly sort of place. One thing that is important to note here as they're walking into this scene are the like red-eyed animals lurking in the darkness.
hmm
They reminded me of I remember I wonder if you thought this too. They reminded me of the rat ghouls from KOTOR,
oh shit, yeah,
from Knights of the Old Republic. I don't
yeah,
know if that's what it was supposed to be, but that's what it called to mind for me.
yeah. That's good,
I don't
man.
know.
I doubt that's what it was supposed to be, but that's cool. Little like yeah.
Just an observation. But they're walking down the street and they approach this like fight club basically, and there's like this Twi'lek and Mando's like, I'm looking for Gor Koresh, I think that's his name, Gor Koresh. And they're led into there and as always, Todd, stop me if I'm forgetting something or if I leave out something
Of
important.
course, of course.
And essentially it's a fight club or like a wrestling match that's going on between two Gamorreans.
Now, was that like I was as I was watching them fight, I was like, is it supposed to be like Vibra axis?
That's what I was thinking
Because
too. It
like they were
seems like
doing
it's
like
like
cool shit. They were like doing like I don't know, like you were seeing like some shield shit going on. Oh,
yeah. Well, the shields don't work too fucking well. But
of course not.
but yeah, they're like doing this. Yeah, it seems like it's vibroblade axes or something like that. They're sort of like repelling off of each other. It's interesting. But if folks remember, that was actually one of the first things that John Favreau teased after season 1 ended was like a little model figure of a Gamorrean.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting that they play an immediate role in this very first episode. But anyway, it's like a Gamorrean fight club. These two Gamorreans are fighting in this wrestling ring. Mando kind of is led to this character, Gor Koresh, who apparently is played by John Leguizamo.
Did not realize that. That's cool.
like, like what? To hear him talk, I actually thought the entire time that it was John Favreau, because John Favreau is no stranger to putting himself in his own work, and
Yeah.
making little cameos. So I actually thought it was Favreau for a while there, but no, apparently it's John Leguizamo. So I was like, okay. But he's like this. I don't know what the race is. I'm not familiar with the alien race, but it's like this one-eyed Cyclops, short, stubby, just bad dude. He's like
hmm
this gambling, seedy crime lord kind of vibe, right? And essentially, Mando's like, I almost feel like he like repeated the same line like multiple times in the episode. Like I've been quested to return this one to its kind, kind of
Yeah, yeah.
shit.
I think he did actually say that like multiple times.
Yeah. So
At
like,
least three.
yeah, it's like a go to line for him or something like that. And essentially, he's like, hey, I'm looking for another Mandalorian that can like set me on the right path, basically. And this guy, Gor Koresh, is like, are you, he's like, are you a gambling man? Do you like gambling? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, not when I can avoid it. He's like, well, I bet you the information you seek that
Yeah.
this fucking Gamorrean doesn't last another minute or whatever.
I don't like to leave my blah 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 to chances. He's like, either do I.
Neither do I. Bam!
it's, it's like okay.
And he just shoots like the other Gamorrean basically. And that's when this was a really interesting little nugget, I thought, because he has him at gunpoint. All of his guards have Mando at gunpoint. Like, gotta be 5 or 6 like blasters pointed at his
hmm
head. And he's like, hey, I'm glad you came to me. I don't have to actually like hunt you down for your Beskar. Beskar is like risen in value, and I've been hunting down Mandalorians to get their shiny shells, I think he says.
Yeah, yeah.
And basically, from that point on, shit hits the fan. And in my notes here, I've written Batman shit ensues.
Good notes. Accurate. No.
That's essentially what it is. So what is it called? It's called like the little
Something
wrist
whistle.
gauntlet. Yeah,
like
the whistling something.
whistling some shit. Like it's the fucking micro missiles essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, fucking like if give me information, I might let you walk out of here alive. I thought you didn't gamble, I don't." And they just a badass one-liner and then the missiles go out and take out all the guards and it becomes a little, brawl.
Little
And
brawl. Yep. And his little fucking stubby fat ass is running away.
trying to slink away, of course. And eventually, of course, Mando catches him, hog ties him.
Hog ties him. You ain't getting away.
Getting away, boy. Strings him up by like a street light. He's like, "Oh, okay, okay, I'll give you the information." Blah blah blah.
Just if you promise you won't kill me, and then Mando gives the very very specific wording. You will not die by my hand.
I promise you won't die by my hand. It's like, oh,
I'm just
okay,
like,
I see where you're going.
I was like, that's a little specific. Okay.
So he tells him that the Mandalorian he seeks is in Tatooine, and that's when we get a little like, I've spent a lot of time on Tatooine. Fucking, there's no Mandalorian on Tatooine. Oh no, it's in Mos Pelgo, I think it is.
Yeah, Mos Belgo.
He's on Mos Pelgo. I swear. This was interesting. He says, "I swear it by the Gatra." This is what's weird. The Gatra. I don't know if it's gonna mean something new in like new canon, but the Gatra was like a droid revolutionary group, like in the old days. So it doesn't really make sense for him to say that here, unless it means something different in new canon. So I don't know. That I found was interesting. And essentially, after it gives him the information he needs, "Oh, you can't leave me like this." Blah blah blah. Mando turns around and shoots out the light of the street light,
Mm-hmm.
and you just see the red eyes of those Rakghoul motherfuckers, basically. And
And you just hear that motherfucker screaming.
yeah, well, and I guess it's implied at that point that that the light is the only thing keeping them away, I guess. And so once the light goes out, they just apparently rip him to shreds, and we get the opening credits. So that's that first scene, just very classic Mandalorian stuff. But we fly over to Tatooine, and Amy Sedaris' character is back. I don't remember her name,
Neither do I.
but she's back. How do you feel about this character? A lot of people
Oh,
hate her.
why? Why do they hate her?
Just they feel like she's too like real world comedian, funny person. Like it almost takes you out of it. It's not alien enough.
Oh, I got no issue with her. She doesn't bother me.
I'll tell you what I like about this scene specifically, because we land in Tatooine. We got Amy Sedaris' character is back, blah blah blah, from season 1. And what I really like is when he steps
Character
out in the little
development.
character development. Exactly, yeah. He steps out of the Razor Crest, and the little pit droids are, he doesn't like droids, blah blah blah. And he's like, no, no, like let him do it. The Razor Crest could use a good
Oh,
once
he does
over,
like droids.
which is kind of cool because it acknowledges what happened with him in IG-11 in season 1, right?
Great moment.
He's kind of come around to droids a little bit, as it were. Another significant thing that happens here, I think, is that she sort of almost represents like the viewer, where she's like, "Oh, well, let me see him." Basically, like as soon as Yiddle comes out, she just starts fawning over him.
Of course.
a little bit of a little bit of viewer representation there, but uh, basically, Mando asks her about this place, Mos Pelgo, and Amy Sedaris' character is like, well, like this is it's not on any of the maps because it's been like wiped off the face of Tatooine, basically. Like it's it was raided by like a mining collective or whatever,
Mhm.
and after the Empire fell and nobody's gone over there, it's not on any of the maps. And this was an obscure ass reference that I respected that they did here,
Yep.
because she calls over R5D4. I actually paused it at that point and pointed that out to you.
Yep.
It was like, dude, this is such an obscure reference. This, if you guys don't know who that is, this is the droid from A New Hope that like Uncle Owen originally buys, but it like shits out on him.
I'm actually after we record this, I'm gonna see if my dad caught it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I find that so funny. I'm like, seriously, what a weird reference to make there.
It's got. I mean, I'm not gonna hate it.
No, I mean, I respect it. And anyway, R5 brings up like a map of Tatooine, and she's like, "This is where it is." And he's like, she's like, they, they'll see your fucking ship from like a mile away." So he borrows one of her speeders.
It's time for a travel montage.
Basically, I actually thought, because she even mentioned, she's even like, "Do you want me to look after him while you go adventure?" I thought that he was basically just going to dump Yiddle off on her again.
I'm happy he didn't. 'Cause again, it's wherever he go, or wherever I go, he goes. You know.
Yeah, and they make a point to say that early on in the episode too.
Yep.
Another just bit of character development.
I think it was the gangster. Actually, he's like, so I've heard.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that's another bit of character development there, where he's not okay to just leave Yiddle with anybody anymore.
hmm
Wherever I go, he goes. Right. So anyway, we go to we have a travel montage, and yeah, so this was a really interesting thing that you and I stopped and talked about, because in this travel montage we see Mando make camp and communicate with sand people, with Tusken Raiders.
Now, we both brought it up. I'm like, I don't remember if this is something that they did in season one. I cannot for the life of me remember. If they did, cool. I don't think they did.
No, no, I don't think it is.
But is it fucking awesome? Yes.
Well, this all, like, to me, this all feels really strange. They make a point of having Mando say like, "Oh, I've spent a lot of time on Tatooine," right?
hmm
And then we're seeing him like flat out communicating with Tusken Raiders. I'm like, what does all this mean?
Ooh, ooh, that's something I might talk about later. I don't want to spoil it yet.
Okay.
But oh
Like
shit.
involving the Tusken Raiders.
Yes, and involving you know who.
Aha. We will,
I,
yeah,
I,
we will
I
certainly get to
I
that.
just had that thought to me right now. I'll bring it up, but yes, let's keep moving.
Put a pin in that.
Yeah.
So we get to Mos Pelgo or whatever it is. And everyone in there is like staring him down. He basically makes his way to like the cantina. And by the way, shout out to the Weequay bartender in there.
Oh yeah, he's great.
I like that guy. I don't know why. I just like him. He seems like a solid
He's
dude.
just I don't know. He's just a chill dude. I like him.
Yeah, I just like him. I don't know who plays him, but I like that guy. Anyway, he goes in, talks to the bartender, and he's like, "Hey, like, is there? I've heard there's a Mandalorian here." And he's like, "What the, fucking, like, who are you looking for?" And he's like, "Someone that looks like me."
Oh, the Marshal.
Yeah, you mean the Marshal? Yeah. And he's like, "Fucking your Marshal wears Mandalorian armor? What the fuck?" And he's like, "Yeah, see for yourself." And then the way the camera pans, this was the first like, oh shit moment, right?
hmm
The way the camera pans, and you can tell instantly that it isn't him, but you can see in the doorway somebody wearing Boba Fett's armor,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, "What the fuck?" This person comes in, orders like a drink, spotchka or whatever
Yeah.
it's
And
called.
what I do love about this is the moment Buddy takes the fucking helmet off, Mando's just like, whoa, what the fuck?
That's the second, the second that he takes the helmet off and sets it down, we get a nice clean shot of, it's clearly like, if you had a doubt in your mind, you don't anymore. We get a nice close up shot of what is clearly Boba Fett's helmet with the bullet ding and and everything.
Yep.
And basically, yeah, Mando's like, "Wait, what the fuck?" So clearly, you're not a Mandalorian,
Yep.
and you're wearing Mandalorian armor. This isn't cool, right? This character's name is Cobb Vanth, played by Timothy Oliphant or Elephant or whatever the fuck his name. Timothy Elephant.
I like it. Let's go with that.
Whatever. I like him a lot. He's really he's a great actor. He does, and I really liked him in the show too as Cobb Vanth. Speaking of Cobb Vanth, so this is what's really interesting about this character. This character is not technically a brand new character.
He's from a book, right?
Yeah, so he plays a really, really small role in the new Aftermath book series in the new canon.
That's cool.
So this is a character that's actually been established before, and we're actually seeing in live action. It's really interesting that they went for that. Anyway, he's like, "Oh, I've never met a real Mandalorian." He's like, "Where'd you get the armor?" And he just immediately shrugs, "Yeah, bought it off some Jawas." This turns into a really tense scene because, again, the Mandalorians, it's an honor based code, right?
hmm
You don't just like wear a Mandalorian's armor. Their armor is their person, basically.
Yep.
They take it off when they die. And it is not cool for you to just be like rolling around in this place wearing a Mandalorian's armor. So it turns into a standoff where Mando's like, fucking take it off, or I'm going to take it off for you. And not in the sexy way. And I think he even says something like, really? Like, we're going to do this in front of the kid?
I got a chuckle out of me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Mando was just like, he's seen worse.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
Get
ooh.
some more cute yiddle shots. And yeah, it becomes like a standoff for a couple seconds. Very Western standoff. Big Western vibes there.
Then everything goes wrong.
Yeah, it starts to rumble, and they step outside, and basically slowly making its way through the sand, through the town, knocking shit over. You see this massive, like, creature swimming through the sand. Comes out and eats one of their banthas.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out to be a crate dragon, which Star Wars nerds will know, but basically all you need to know, it's a big ass dragon that swims in the sand. So this is where basically Cobb's like, yeah, let's make an arrangement here. They basically make an arrangement where it's like, hey, like, you help me take down this thing that's been terrorizing our town. I'll give you the armor in exchange. Now, let me take your temperature on this. Let me put a pin in this moment real quick, because I want to know, did you trust Cobb Vanth at this point?
You know, I actually had I kind of thought he was kind of trustworthy from the get go. I
Did
actually
you?
had, yeah.
I was so ready for a double cross at
I don't know.
any
He just
moment.
he just didn't seem like a bad guy.
I don't know why. I was so ready for him to like flip the script at any moment. But I don't know. Something about it. I still don't really trust him, but we'll get into that. He says that he knows where the thing lives. They go out basically towards its like den or whatever. Shout out to this travel montage, because he's basically riding on like half a pod racer.
Yeah, you're the first one that brought it up. I realized it, but I'm like, in my mind, I'm just like, that's cool. It's cool as
Yeah.
fuck.
That's like a neat thing. It makes perfect sense, right? Because of course there would be pod racer parts like scattered throughout Tatooine. It makes perfect sense. And I mean, I would have to imagine it would be pretty tough to control with just one pod racer engine, but
It's yeah. I do respect it. I mean, it's a cool thing to make into a speeder.
it's a cool
Fuck it.
visual. Yeah, fuck it.
It's almost like
Fuck it.
as he's almost driving it like where he's like on the sidecar in a weird way. You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, the way the pod racers are set up where they've got the two turbine
Yeah.
engines on either
Yeah.
side. This is just one of them. So, really interesting visual. I liked it. And basically, during this little travel montage, we get a little flashback moment. I really liked that they showed us this, right? Like, it wasn't just him talking. It wasn't just him, like, explaining himself. It was actually, they showed us the moment where he's like, it was the day, like, the second Death Star blew up. We were all in the cantina celebrating, and immediately, power doesn't like a vacuum. The second the
Mm-hmm.
Empire left, the mining collective came in, and we turned into a slave camp, basically. And we get this scene where the mining collective just mows down the folks inside of the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Weequay bartender, shout out to him again. He gets shot, and Cobb Vanth taking cover, helps him escape, hides behind like one of their speeders, and makes off with one of their Camtonos, which apparently is full of crystals, silicax crystals, I think he says. He takes this and he starts like wandering in the desert, basically like passes out, and then that's when one of the giant Jawa sand crawlers comes and like picks him up. They take him in, they give him water, blah blah blah, and essentially the Jawas want the crystals and they trade him Boba Fett's armor for the crystals. That's basically how he gets it. And then in one of my favorite scenes in the episode, Cobb Vanth then puts on the armor and basically goes back to like take back the town from the mining collective.
Yep.
Oh, the scene was so baller, man. This was like my second orgasm of the episode,
I
basically.
think anything involving the Boba Fett armor, you're just like, keep it going. Yes.
Yeah, basically, guys, here's what you have to understand. For Boba Fett fans like myself, I'm a hardcore Boba Fett fan. Like, there's stuff that we just always wanted to see and never got to in live action.
Even though this shit is technically not Boba Fett, it's still cool.
It's still cool just to see it at all. Yeah,
Yeah,
like just to see that Boba Fett armor doing some of this stuff. He goes in, he fucking takes out like all the mining collective guys. Some of them make off and they try to run off on their speeder. He uses the rangefinder, locks onto him, and finally we get to see the rocket firing backpack.
it was good. It was
Oh,
very
it was
good.
good. Oh, it was good. I could not be happier. Anyway, after this flashback scene's over, basically they're through a canyon and they're ambushed by these like Tusken Raider dogs, essentially.
Hmm.
And this is when we see Mando step out and straight up speak Tusken.
Yep.
Like like just straight up. And the dogs are like, they're kind of weirdly cute because they then become like docile,
Yeah, they get really docile and get like just. It's like it shouldn't be cute, but it's like it's kind of like, oh.
wagging their little butts and whatnot. He's petting them and stuff. But yeah, we see Mando speaking, and Tusken Raiders kind of come out from behind the rocks, and we see Mando actually communicating with them.
Yeah, and I do like that it's like a mixture of obviously like their guttural like noises in a way, and then also sign language in a weird way.
Yeah. So what was really interesting about this is that one of the actors that played one of the Tusken Raiders actually created or helped create that sign language
That's fucking cool. Yeah,
because the actor himself was deaf.
that's cool. I like that.
So he actually created like a believable sign language.
It's like probably like a really like primitive ass like weird like simple as fuck almost.
Yeah, so I thought that was so cool. They actually got somebody who was deaf and mute on the cast to help create something that is now canonically Star Wars. I thought that was
That's
so
fucking
cool.
cool.
Yeah. So anyway, basically they explain what they're doing, and then the Sand People explain that they want to kill the Crate Dragon too. So next scene we get, they're at this like campsite with the Sand People. We get a little shot of them like brushing a bantha's teeth,
I liked it.
which I'm like, damn, these guys are like taking care of their bantha better than I take care of my dog. I need to brush my dog's teeth.
Nah, you just gotta get them dental those dental treats.
The dental treats do okay, but
It's like I got them for my cat.
every now and then it's like your breath smells like shit.
I'll be honest, that's the way it goes. If the cat gets near me and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll be right back. You nasty bitch.
So they're at this campfire. Basically, the conversation progresses. They make an offering to Cobb Vanth, basically as like it's like this weird like fruit.
Yeah, and it
Like
pops open, has like these black spores almost. Granted,
it looks gross.
I would turn it down too. And I would insult them the same way that they did.
Yeah, Cobb Vanth's like he's like, what do I fucking do with this? And Mando's like, you drink it, and he's like, I'm not drinking this.
It's like, do you want their help? He's like,
I don't want it enough to drink this shit. And it basically becomes like a big thing where they have their differences of like the Tusken Raiders say that like you people have like stolen their water and killed their people and blah blah blah, and he's like, yeah, well, like I've defended my town from them. They raid our towns and our mines and blah blah blah. So
Mhm.
it becomes like this little blow up moment for a second. Mando breaks it up with his like flamethrower spurt and basically says like, hey, like if we don't work together, the monster's going to kill all of us, right? So next scene, they go to the monster's den and they reveal that the monster lives in an abandoned sarlacc pit. Okay.
And I do love this line.
Yeah, I was about to say that was a cool line because he's like, I've never known there to be such a thing as an abandoned sarlacc pit.
Except when that motherfucker gets eaten.
So yeah, except for when the sarlacc gets eaten.
I'm just like, ooh, no.
And the Sand People kind of reveal their like primitive strategy of what they've been doing basically to get it to sleep.
Is feeding it essentially.
Yeah, like feeding it bantha basically.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a funny scene because the Tusken Raider that like offers the bantha starts running away, and then the dragon just eats it.
It's like soon as the dragon's like starting to come out, it's like fuck this shit, I'm out.
Basically. So anyway, they sort of regroup, and the Sand People kind of make this like rough sort of battle plan where they've got the bones of the thing laid out, and they've got they're sprinkling like things to represent them, like on they look like chocolate chips,
Yeah.
like on the floor, and he's, oh, it's not to scale. And it's like, yeah, it is. The thing's a lot bigger than you think it is. You've only seen its head and its neck. He's like, well, we're gonna need reinforcements, and I'm volunteering your village to help us. So they go back to the village to convince them. They freak out, obviously, when the situation's explained, and when Cobb Vanth tells them that they're having to work with the Sand People. And this is another moment that I really liked because Mando kind of pipes in, right? Like, hey, this thing is bigger than you realize. It's more complicated. I like this line a lot. He says, and I really felt like he was, I don't know if you feel the same way. I feel like Pedro Pascal's kind of channeling a little Nathan Fillion, a little Malcolm Reynolds, a little bit. Like, I get that vibe from him, but he says, like, it'll swallow your entire town when the fancy hits it. Basically, that's such a Malcolm Reynolds line to me from Firefly. But he says, like, yeah, like they are raiders. They're brutal, but so's the Dune Sea. They've had to
Yeah.
survive. They've survived out there for thousands of years, and you know what? They're not going to break their word. So he's like, basically, we've struck a deal saying, hey, you help the Sand People kill this crate dragon. Let them keep the carcass. And he says Ichor. I've always said Icor, but whatever.
You say a lot of shit wrong. No, I'm just playing.
I guess so. You always give me shit because I say compass.
It bothers me.
It's compass. It's literally not even spelled that way, but okay.
Fuck you.
And in return, they will not attack you guys unless you attack them first, basically. So they agree. They team up. They're like loading up bombs, and they kind of set aside their differences and blah blah blah. And essentially, what they do is their basic plan is they've got some like, I don't know, rope turrets or like ballista or something like that.
Yeah, essentially. So basically bind it in a way.
Yeah. Or to like pull it. I don't know what their real plan was there.
Yeah, it's like a rope binder in a way. I don't know. It's just fucking some Monster Hunter world shit.
But the basic plan is they've buried these bombs because the Sand People are like, hey, like we know that the weak spot is on its belly, right? And the plan is basically to piss it off and like draw it out to where it'll go over the bombs, and then they can detonate it. So the Sand People go up into the cave mouth to wake it up. And by the way, real quick, I swear to you, I haven't actually gone back and listened to it, but I swear to you that the yell they do in that moment is the same yell the Tusken Raider does in A New Hope.
You know what? It did. It sounds, yeah. I could see
I
that being
swear
it.
to you that's the same one. I bet you anything they repurposed that exact same sound clip. I don't know for a fact. I would have to go back and listen, but I promise you that is.
That was like that. Like that is the Tusken Raider. That when you think of a yell, that's it.
Yeah. Exactly. So anyway, this thing comes out. It's pissed off. They're trying to fight it. It's not quite working. It's like it actually like starts to retreat at 1st.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of provoke it a little bit more. It comes out and it starts spitting out like stomach acid.
That's the only way I could describe it. It was like stomach acid, essentially. It's like shooting its own stomach acid, or it has like an acid thing it does. But yeah.
Yeah, we don't really know what it was. We don't like explicitly see bodies burning, but folks are screaming for sure. And it does this a couple of times. And anyway, basically they're like continuing to attack it. Eventually Cobb Vanth and Mando like load up with their jetpacks, and they go to fly up. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, at a certain point, you see this motherfucker in a span of like 2 seconds, like burst through the top of a mountain. It's like, what?
All right, I know what it is. I'm reading it. I'm on the Wikipedia.
Oh, you're on the Wikipedia?
Yes. Their bodies produced crate venom, which helped the dragons as an acid in pre-digestion of their food. If a crate dragon felt threatened, it could project the venom from its mouth.
There you go.
And well, it's technically you're right, but it has a name.
So yes, crate venom. There you go. At least now we know we're being accurate. So basically, nothing's working. They're shooting at the thing. Nothing's working. Blah blah blah. Mando gets an idea. Mando sees one of their banthas that is like strapped up with some of the bombs, right? And basically, he's like, "Hey, I have an idea. Get this thing's attention. Get it to come over this way." And we get another rocket backpack shot. One
Yeah.
more for the road, basically. And he gets the attention. Mando's like, "Give me the detonator." And Mando does a classic. I thought this was so funny because this is basically the same shit that like ended up getting Boba Fett killed in Return of the Jedi. Like getting the jetpack damaged and like getting like flown away, basically. So that happens. Cobb Vanth like goes, gets yeeted essentially into the distance. And it becomes clear that Mando's plan basically is to have the crate dragon swallow this bantha, and he will then detonate the bombs while it's inside. But the bantha begins to say, "Fuck this shit, I'm out." And it like comes loose, and Mando has to actually like at that moment. Because you can basically see, even though we don't ever see his face, you can tell with his body language. He's like, "All right, I guess I'm gonna have to get eaten by this fucking thing."
Yep.
So they get eaten by the crate dragon, and there's a few minutes there of obvious tension of like Yiddle making sad noises.
Yeah, Yiddle was not a fan.
Yiddle was not a fan. And after a few seconds pass, basically there's like a shockwave. He's essentially like electrocuted his way out of the crate dragon. And you see like lightning like coming off of its mouth and stuff like this. And he detonates the bombs and the dragon is killed. Right.
Mm. Eh.
Big shockwave goes off when it dies. It, lets out a scream and whatever. The next scene basically is like the dragon's dead. The sand people have already begun to like carve up its carcass. You're seeing bones and gross meat.
And they find the crystal.
Yeah, so by the way, this was weird. Mando like loaded up some of the meat.
Yeah.
On the speeder. Like, what is he doing with that?
He's gonna eat it.
He's gonna like go back to Tatooine, to Mos Eisley and have a fucking barbecue.
Yeah.
Make some crate dragon brisket.
Fuck yeah. Smoke that bitch.
You haven't lived until you've had smoked crate dragon. But yeah, the sand people are digging through and they find a crate dragon pearl, which is another really nerdy thing.
Yeah, it's like, ooh.
And that is probably the main reason why they wanted it, aside from its tasty, tasty meat. But Cobb is good to his word. He relinquishes the Boba Fett armor, and they part as friends, essentially.
Hope they cross paths again, is what was said. Yeah.
Yeah, and tell your people I wasn't the one that broke that. And Mando takes off in a speeder, and the last shot we get here, this is the fucking money shot. This is the shot everybody's talking about, right?
This is where essentially I was like, I actually walked in on this before I actually watched it. I was like I made the joke, and I'm like, "Where's Boba?"
Yeah. So as Mando takes off, we get the money shot of a figure watching him in the distance, and when he turns around, it is Tamora Morrison reprising his role as Boba Fett.
Boba motherfucking Fett. Let's go.
Ugh.
Now we have so you mentioned it as you're like pausing it and fucking rewinding it and shit. Does he have sand people shit?
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. I had this thought earlier as we were recording here. Is Mando said he's been on Tatooine for quite and he's never seen another Mandalorian. What if he's already met Boba and he did not realize he was a Mandalorian?
That's
because
very
he doesn't
possible.
have his fucking armor.
That's very possible. Well, yeah, because you see that was basically why I was pausing that scene a whole bunch, because I was like, the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, that looks like he's got one of those little sticks that they carry. You know?
He's got, and even the rifle is very much like the ones that the Tusken Raiders use.
It looks like a modified Tusken Raider.
It's a little modified. It has like a scope and shit.
Right.
But I'm telling you, it'd be cool actually if they
So
technically.
it does. I mean, what I was doing is I was look. The scene is so quick you can't really make it out. I was looking to see if maybe he had one of those weird masks or something
Oh yeah, yeah.
somewhere on his person. But I was like, there's basically only two possibilities, right? Possibility A is what you're talking about, where Boba's been living as a Tusken Raider and maybe
Or
has
at
even
least living
crossed
with them.
paths with Mando.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a possibility. Possibility B is that he's just been surviving in the Dune Sea and has killed them and is like using their gear or something.
Maybe. Either way,
Um,
it's cool.
Either way, it's cool. It's, I mean, look, at the end of the day, we've had like expanded universe content, obviously, post Return of the Jedi that is now no longer canon, where Boba Fett like survived the Sarlacc pit and went on to do whatever. This is the first canonical after 40 years almost since Return of the Jedi. The first canonical representation on screen of Boba Fett surviving the Sarlacc pit. And man, that's just so fucking cool. Like, it's just so cool that we live in this reality. And the implications.
The implications.
Because
Oh.
like Boba Fett, like I have to wonder how this is going to resolve itself. Is he tracking down Mando just to simply get his armor back? Is he after the child? Is he after Yiddle?
What's going on exactly with Boba?
Is this
Yeah.
going to end up being, they're not going to meet as fucking friends.
Oh fuck no.
You know? Like this is going to have to be a standoff between Mando and Boba Fett, because there's no way he's going to want his armor back or he's going to want Yiddle, and either way it's not going to go fucking well.
There's gonna be a fight. Wait, there was a fire.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder, like, is this going to be basically like, are they going to kill off Boba Fett in this series? Because
Huh?
I've gone down the rabbit hole with this in my mind. Because at first I was like, well, maybe they won't kill him off so that they can do expanded comics or maybe even a spin-off show or whatever
Or maybe
with
they'll
Boba
finally
Fett.
put the nail in that coffin.
Or maybe, yeah, or maybe they'll give people a more satisfying death. Like, give us a really good like Boba Fett centric episode, and really um kind of give the fans like a proper send off to that character versus him just dying like a bitch, you know? And I want to pull out another pin from season 1, because the thing that really tipped us all off to Boba Fett potentially appearing in season 2, I think it's in episode 6 of season 1, where basically we get that teaser with Fennec Shand, I think her name is,
Yeah,
the bounty hunter. Her like body or unconscious body, dead body, whatever is left there, and we get the jingling of those spurs, right?
yeah.
Presumably that wasn't Boba Fett. Presumably that was Cobb Vanth, right?
Mm,
Like, it doesn't seem like Boba Fett would have lost his armor after that point.
yeah.
So that kind of needs to get explained.
Oh, that's why you don't trust.
That's why I don't trust him. That's why, and if you notice, they make a point to mention in the like, they actually have a quote from Fennec about Mando traveling with the child in the very beginning, where they're doing the story recap from season 1.
Mm-hmm.
I think those all tie in together. I think that it's like a big setup. I think Cobb Vanth is working with Fennec, maybe. I think that's all going to sort of tie together to come after Yiddle. That's why I don't trust him. I don't know
Mm,
that, but those are the seeds I'm planting here. And I don't think that Boba is in on any of that. I think Boba's just like, fuck you, I want my armor back.
mm-hmm.
Because like I've seen some discourse like, oh, I wonder if like Boba Fett's familiar with Yoda, or if he would know anything about the child or its species. I don't think so. Who gives a shit? To be
No,
honest,
no.
he is no fan of the Jedi.
What? No.
Yeah. Dude, think about it. Think about Boba's life, right? Boba's existence on Kamino was fucked by the Jedi. Okay? His father, killed by a Jedi.
Right in front of him, essentially.
Literally in front of him, decapitated his father, right? his demise in the Sarlacc pit inadvertently caused by a Jedi. This he has no love for the Jedi, so I've got no reason to believe that Boba Fett's inclusion in this show is going to be a good thing for Mando. So I'm really curious to see where they're going to go with this, and I love the restraint. And I think I mentioned this when we were doing the season 1 episodes, because it would have been so easy for them to just shoehorn him in to the
Mm-hmm.
first season,
Mm-hmm.
but like the fact that they let it marinate, and now he's popping up in season 2, and it makes sense. And by the way, I think we're getting a lot of holdovers from the shit can Boba Fett movie
Mm.
that was in development. I think a lot of those plot elements are now just being worked into this. So I don't know, man. I'm very excited. I'm happy the Mandalorian's back. I'm happy that Boba Fett's back, and I'm happy to be doing this again, because it's fun to like to talk and like unpack it all and have all these like weird little fan theories and shit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, final thoughts. I am really happy that this show is back, and it didn't skip a beat for me, man.
Oh fuck no! It's still very very good. I'm looking forward to doing this every week until it's over.
Next week on Dragon Balls. Anyway, anything else you want to add before we wrap up this little Mandalorian discussion?
I think that's about it, man.
All right, folks. We'll catch you next week for, I guess, chapter 10 of The Mandalorian, where we will hopefully learn some more about my boy. Catch you guys next time. Bye.
See ya.